Um, Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to warmly congratulate you, Madam, on the occasion and accession of your country, the United States of America, to the Presidency of the Security Council for the month of September. I wish you, Madam, every success in your leadership. I also want to thank Mr. Keaton, the SRSG, and Mr. Madeira, the SRCC, and Executive Director of UN Women, Ms. Malambo Nguka, for their briefings. I don't want to forget also to welcome my brother and my neighbor and my colleague, Permanent Representative of Ethiopia, Mr. Salasi. Since this is the last briefing of also our good friend, Mr. Keaton, as SRSG and head of the United Nations Assistant Mission in Somalia, I would like to take this opportunity to thank him and acknowledge the important role he played in supporting the major development in Somalia over the past 3 years, including the electoral process, the development of the comprehensive approach to security structure, to support the national security architecture and the transition plan, as well as helping Somalia tackle major humanitarian crisis caused by drought. We wish you, Excellence, all the best in your future endeavors. We also welcome the Secretary General's new appointment, Mr. Nicholas Haysom, as the new SRSG and head of United Nations Assistant Mission in Somalia. Mr. Haysom has our full support, and we wish him every success in fulfilling his duties. Madam President, the Somali delegation takes note of the report of the Secretary General, S/2018/800. We commend the fact that the current report refers to the progress made and acknowledge the positive steps taken by federal government of Somalia. However, we respectfully suggest in the future and in the interest of maximizing its usefulness, the report should be redesigned to contain less narrative, less details about specific events, and more in-depth analysis of major issues, as well as recommendations and conclusions. Madam President, over the past decade, we have come a long way in our joint efforts and have much to show for our progress in building our state institutions, in ensuring our people with essential services, enabling democracy to take root and upholding the fundamental rights of all its citizens. The federal government of Somalia continues to believe that inclusive politics and legitimate governance is the basis for all other progress in Somalia. The path to achieving this is not always smooth, and in recent weeks, the divergent opinions and views of various levels of the government in Somalia have been evident as we debate the future shape of our governance, the federalism structure, and how the responsibilities of different levels of government will be allocated and resourced. These are formative years for Somalia, and the emergence of the new forms of government is often a turbulent process. For many of the council members sitting in this distinguished chamber, from your own history, you will recognize that disputes and disagreements and divergence of ideologies and views and energies of the debate which came to form the basis of your government and your institutions. And Somalia is no different. Unlike you, esteemed members of the Council, we are committed to allowing those debates and differences to be energetically aired, to allow time for solutions to emerge and to enable positions to move closer. We recognize this will only happen through dialogue, which is why my President, Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo, has invited the federal member states to meet on the 17th and 18th of this month, September of 2018, to continue our debate and national discourse. And we urge all federal member states to join us at the table to enable dialogue to be the basis on which to shape our relationship, not statements and press conferences. Behind all this, there continue to be steady technical progress through the Federalization Negotiation Technical Committee tasked to drive forward negotiations on the fundamental pillars for the long-term stability, including the election model, resource sharing, and allocation of power to support political agreement at the leadership level. We also held the Somali National Constitutional Convention in Mogadishu, May 13 to May 15 of this year, which set the tone and the pace for the constitutionally mandated institutions to prioritize work and set the timelines necessary for the completion of the constitutional review process. Madam President, on security, Al-Shabaab remains a vicious threat with the ability to conduct attacks against the Somali people, government institutions, and AMISOM. And I take this opportunity to offer my prayers to the victims of the recent suicide attack on school and government offices in Hodon district in the capital, and extend my heartfelt condolence to their families. Al-Shabaab must be defeated and neutralized as a matter of priority. In addition to significantly enhance the efforts of Somali National Army and AMISOM, we suggest that the Security Council take an urgent additional steps to cut off forever the means of the Shabaab's survival. Especially, we propose that the Council authorize a clear and adequate resources and time to enable the Sanction Committee to find out definitely who is financing Al-Shabaab and who is providing weapons and sanctions, as well as those of how these weapons and financial resources enter into Somalia. On our side, we, the Somali government, are working to address the primary tactics of IEDs by developing a national counter-IED strategy that will bring together government departments to tackle the chain of events that allows IEDs to be manufactured, transported, planted, or detonated in Mogadishu or across the country, as well as the detection of the devices and the prevention of the casualties. This important capacity building work will include customs, ports, and law enforcement agencies, as well as the development of policies and legislations, and build better coordination and information exchange between the security institutions and relevant government ministries. This year, we also embarked on a transition and ambitious process by which we Somalis are embarking on the transition to full Somali sovereignty, national ownership, and leadership in an effort to realize our vision of secure, democratic, and prosperous nation. We are continuing to implement the transition plan to enable Somalia to assume the responsibility for the security across the country, including the transfer of tasks from AMISOM to Somali security forces. In addition to our solid national resolve, the such of transition process will depend on continued support of international community, most importantly in building the capacity of the national security institutions. Alongside the transition of the security responsibilities, we are focused on doing what's necessary to implement the economic pillar of the transition process. This will be a more difficult task, requiring more time and sustained and long-term engagement of our international partners during and after the transition process. Economic recovery, we believe, is the centerpiece of our administration. We recognize early on that to carry out the infrastructural improvement, institutional buildings, and economic development, we needed a debt relief and access to international financial institutions, IFIs. We have therefore given our strong commitment to the successful implementation of SMB program with IMF, which is now a strategic objective of our government. Domestic revenue mobilization is also a high priority area, as we view sustainable and reliable domestic revenue as essential for reducing dependency on aid, for economic development, for providing public service to our citizens, which for us is an important factor for sustaining security improvement. As part of the fiscal consolidation program, we're also in the process of reviewing security expenditures. Some of the reforms we are currently undertaking include security sector payroll reform with biometrics registration of all security personnel we are currently undertaking. We are keen to strengthen our system through good governance. Fighting corruption and transparency are key priorities for my government. As such, there is a paradigm shift in Somalia. We are on a clear path of increased accountability and transparency and have commenced the painful reform aimed at transforming our nation. These reforms demand accountability at all levels, both the federal and the regional. The federal government of Somalia is expected to meet standards of governance, and our federal member states must also meet these standards, and we have to support them in meeting these goals. Women's rights, the Somali government remains fully committed to the promotion and realization of equality of all its citizens and women empowerment. We commend the work of United Nations specialized agencies in Somalia, who supported us improving the lives of young girls and women through our journey to rise back from protracted civil strife. Historically, Somali women have played an important role in the conflict resolution, and they are the foundation to build a sustainable peace in Somalia. The decades of conflict has increased many burdens of our women and girls. However, our transition from conflict also offers more windows of opportunity to advance Somali women's rights in line with our constitution and international applicable laws. Our current constitutional review, for example, have the potential to significantly increase equality and women empowerment today and for the generations to come. Therefore, the Ministry of Women and Human Rights is taking the lead to bring together prominent and strong Somali women at the first Somali Women Conference to be held in Mogadishu in late October of this year. Somali's National Women's Conference aims to advance women's meaningful participation in the Somali's constitutional review and path towards the 2020-2021 elections through a nationally led and national-owned process. Madam President, Somali women are very talented and we are proud of them. We take this opportunity to pay tribute to one of Africa's first fighter pilot, Madam Asli Hassan Abade. She has served proudly her country for decades. My government efforts shall remain anchored in leaving no woman or girl behind. To conclude, I would like to reiterate the gratitude of the government of Somalia and the people of Somalia to the Secretary General, his special representative in Somalia, and all other troop and police contributing countries for their sacrifices, and the sacrifices they made and the final lasting peace in Somalia. I thank all our partners in the international community for standing beside us in solidarity to strengthen the foundation of peace, democracy, development that we have laid down. On the way forward, this role must be enhanced to strengthen Somali sovereignty and territorial integrity. We will continue stronger in the path of realizing our common vision of a peaceful, stable, and democratic Somalia, a country that's self-reliant and evident factor for the regional and perpetual peace and cooperation. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of Somalia, and as there are no other speakers on the list, the meeting is adjourned.